Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. My name is Anthony Ragucci, and here with a few friends in the Delaware County area, we get in a basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic is going to be the future of Tomb Raider. But before we get into that, the yawning one, as always, here to discuss, Chris Trio.
Gooch, I have my twin pistols ready, my hair tie in my back pocket, and my booty shorts in the car. I'm ready to talk about
I had
Tomb
no
Raider.
idea where you were going with that at first. I did not assign that to Tomb Raider instantaneously, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing.
We are here to talk Tomb Raider, and I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
All right. It's been a rough week.
I hear you. You know, we're
It's
coming
very-
up on
it's been
summer.
very- Yeah, go ahead.
No, we're coming up on summer. We're going to have a party this weekend to celebrate
Trio
me
fucking
graduating because
graduated.
I finally did it.
Holy shit.
Thank you.
He's an adult.
Hold your applause. Nah, I hear you, man. It's weird. It's been a crazy last month for me too, for sure.
Yeah, it's been really busy. And I mean, you know, we were in Richmond a few weeks ago. Got to see Sacred Symbols live. Me, Trio, Matt Penn's a friend of the show. If you've been watching a while,
Absolutely.
you
know him.
recognize him. Yeah, we went to Richmond, Virginia to see...
West Virginia. Sorry.
we went to Virginia.
Yeah, it is. It's
to
just
see
Virginia. Yeah.
the podcast Sacred Symbols Live 200. That was fun.
It was a great
That
time.
was a cool weekend.
It was really cool.
But yeah, weekends have been busy. Not a lot. You know, I'm still playing Elden Ring. Hopefully,
So am I, actually.
I think we're going to review it in June.
That's what it's looking like.
I feel like it's going to be June.
So you
know?
just got to the mountaintop of the Giants, right?
Right.
So you got, there's like one other. So I still don't even have that one area that you don't have.
What one area? The
Like
Haley
the
tree?
top, no, that top cutout that I saw on your. I got to the other area that's like the island area, but yeah.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Right,
what I'm
right.
talking about. Yeah, the like weird broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just beat the Black Blade, so
Mikola.
I think so.
Yeah.
But it was actually a lot easier than I expected. But no, that's good. What else? What have you been playing?
So, last time we talked, got that Strangers in Paradise Platinum. We beat Horizon, reviewed it. I also got that Platinum.
Boom.
And then, you know, both reviews on that, you can go check them out. Won't go too in depth. But I played the Returnal Ascension DLC. Fun little 10 hours of Returnal. Jump back in, kind of get a little bit more story, get a little more gameplay. It is literally like a tower ascend. You ascend a tower, it's infinite. You can go on forever.
Is this the co-op thing?
Yes, they added co-op with it in the main story. The the Ascension part of it is not co-op, but the main story is.
Make it a sense.
And it was cool. It was nice to kind of jump. I didn't really care to jump back into Returnal, to be honest. I wasn't itching for DLC.
Yeah.
But it was cool to kind of jump back into that game a little bit for like literally like a few days, not even like a week. And I finished it and got all the trophies.
Is that
and
still
stuff.
like $70? Like, is that still full price?
don't know.
That might be one that once I get my PS5, I pick up just
that
to
is
even give a
game
shot.
that I would like. Hey, you're getting a PS5.
Why
I think
not? Yeah.
Returnal is on there.
No, I
think
agree,
I
yeah.
think it is a cool, different game.
Starting to put the nose to the grindstone on that one, Gooch. Looking out for him.
Oh, the PS5.
PS5s. No.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sorry, you were saying.
No, that was pretty much it. And the only other game I started playing, that is new, or not new, but you know, haven't talked about yet. The Wolfenstein New Colossus. I beat it. I didn't really like it. I'm going for the Mein Leben run, which is the permadeath on hardest difficulty run.
That game's hard too, even on like hard.
It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I'm using a guide, and I'm still not like figuring it out, but I'm interested to see how long this is gonna take me. I haven't done the DLC yet, and I hopefully plan to play Youngblood, even though I hear it's horrible.
So what did you think of it?
I hated it.
Really?
I genuinely didn't like it at all.
That's so
It's
That's
real
sad because
it's a
the first
really
game's really good.
strange game.
Yeah.
And it's not it's got a lot of like not I don't want to say political undertones. It's just stupid. It's the whole fucking game is a political undertone.
But like, it's trying to connect like more to modern day, right?
That,
like in a way,
and like it does that a little bit, but like I feel like it does too much with BJ being like associated with like white supremacy and stuff. And I'm like, did we need that?
yeah, like did we need this Nazi take over America to be also about white supremacy and like
before the Nazis
yeah.
took over? Like I get what you're trying to do, Machine Games, but like BJ Blazkowicz is just a Nazi killing machine. You know, like I don't think he needs like this.
He loves everyone.
I don't think we need like a backstory on his character. I'm cool with them exploring like the racial tension. Like I like how they go, you know, we go to America in this game and they talk about how the KKK like essentially like
took over basically. Yeah.
Not takes over, but like sides with the Nazis.
Yeah, of course,
the Nazis don't really like the KKK because they're like Southern hicks.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yeah, like they still. Like,
I did see.
It's interesting.
Yeah, no, that sounds like there could be some like actually interesting ideas
yeah, but
there.
They just didn't.
Is it like too heavy-handed?
Well, so there's a like American Revolution group. I forget what they're called. I don't even think they have a name, but they're almost all like blaxploitation characters.
Yeah.
What is that show that is really blaxploitation? And he has like a name, and he's like a detective dude, and it's got a really catchy theme song, and it begins with an S. Like if I said it, you'd know exactly.
Oh, is it the one that they just made another movie about?
There's 3 of them,
and it's Shaft.
Shaft.
Yeah,
it is very Shaft.
Yeah.
The few black main characters in the game are all like
very funky,
right?
Yeah,
and I'm just like, I don't. Is that what we needed to do?
Like, is that where we're caught here?
Yeah, it just seems strange.
It's just that's
and
well,
then,
it's funny.
And then
I remember starting it
group,
being
and there are
like,
a bunch of like communists in America. I'm like, what are we doing here?
What's happening? Yeah.
Like there just can't be like normal people. Like,
yeah. Meanwhile, this guy like, I like capitalism, but I just don't like me no Nazis. Is all. That's
and like
all.
like now they're like a fucking like they're like just like communist like Soviet Russia like faction in America. It's like, what's going on?
That's so funny.
It's
Interesting.
Just, and like BJ Blazkowicz's inner monologue is like, Caroline, I know I'll let your wings guide me as I fucking kill all these Nazis.
As I go, I do remember
like,
this.
What is this?
Your wings will guide me on my noble quest.
Like that's what he says.
Yeah,
I'm just like, what are we doing here?
That's
the
funny.
first game was so good.
It really was. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I love that first game.
And I'm like, I finished it, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this game at all. And then I'm like, why am I still playing it? Like, here's
so
me
funny.
fucking platinuming it.
Oh man.
But other than that, Better Call Saul started up, final season. I'm interested to see if we'll review that. I have a feeling we probably won't.
Yeah, I would like. I need to finish season 5, which is on Netflix.
Right.
And then I just would need to catch up. I would absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing that. It's a great
Right,
show.
it would be fun. It'd be different for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then lastly, I started The Sopranos.
I don't even know I was gonna gabagooch. There we go. I was trying to give something there.
Wake up this morning, got some gabagoo.
So, how deep in are you?
I'm only in season 1 still.
Like which episode? I guess like how deep into it are you? Like halfway or
10 or 9?
how are they? Like 12?
13.
Okay.
At least the first one is 13 episodes.
Yeah, that's one I need to go back and rewatch. That and Boardwalk Empire.
What I think is funny about The Sopranos is strangely familiar.
Well, because all the
I'm
tropes.
Italian.
Well, and it's like,
very,
and I think all the tropes are
stereotypically-
also everywhere. Yeah, like
Yeah, it's no, but like it's stereotypically true.
no, that's what I mean. Exactly, like
Yeah,
those tropes
like-
are all around. It's
Like,
funny.
this just
Even
seems so
someone pointed it out to me the other day, or it was like on a YouTube channel, how even like GTA, like Michael is very inspired by Gandolfini's character. What's his name in that again?
Tony Soprano.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name.
It's called The fucking Sopranos.
I was having
Like,
trouble. Like he's
and also both characters have my name.
that exactly. But no, that's cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it so far. I love to hear it.
Yeah, that's one that's been on my list for a long time, and I'm like, all right, it's time.
That and The Wire are on my list. I always hear about
Mad
The
Men
Wire.
is also another one.
Mad Men, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where they're just drinking and smoking at 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
in the
there's a
afternoon
lot.
every day.
There's a lot of drinking of espresso and sitting outside like family-owned butcher shops and.
We got to
fucking
take
talking
care
about
of this
the mob.
problem. Forget about it. Yeah.
Hey, yo!
Forget about it.
Now sound. To reference that Family Guy joke.
Oh, great. Anything else?
That's really been it.
I love it.
Yeah, like not, we're in backlog season. That's why I played Wolfenstein. Not
We
like,
even got a longer backlog season thanks to
Star-
somebody moving their date. Starfield, I sort of believed that you were sticking around. Sort of. I mostly...
I was confident about that one.
You were?
Yeah.
I was pretty confident too. And that truly is the last straw. And I think... I've listened to a podcast, someone was saying this, but now it has come to the point where I genuinely I don't believe you when you give me a date. I don't care who it is.
Chris,
That's what it was like. Yeah, I don't.
You say a date, I don't believe.
I don't believe it. I genuinely.
Yeah, and this is anyone.
Yeah, and I do think I will give Bethesda credit. This is apparent. I think you were saying this is the first delay since Oblivion.
So, in 2005. If you put a gun to my head and told me what was the last Bethesda game delayed, it would not have been Oblivion.
I would not have guessed. So they're not the. Listen, delay's a good delay. I don't care. That's great. And they seem to have not done this in a while. So I really think that they sat down, had a hard look at it, and were like, we need to delay, unfortunately. But like you said, longer backlog season.
I don't really care. It's just
I just want to play it.
2020 is now, the balloon is like officially deflated.
And like I'm, even with God of War, I'm
like
not
Elden
banking
Ring,
on that.
great, but we had another hard-hitting AAA game on the other side of the fence of the year.
Fully next gen.
Right. Like it was, like...
And that's
am I
Elden
upset?
Ring's cross-gen, right? Believe it is.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah. Which is fine.
I mean, that's fine. That game doesn't look that pretty.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. I think that's... But, again, it starts to affect games. Anywho, we're moving past it.
I was glad to see the Gotham Knights last gen ports axed.
Dude, that was...
I think that's a ballsy move to make.
I think it is too
just
at this point.
Fuck you guys. And that's why I'm kind of like, you got to get a next gen console. I'm like, you're just going to be lost. We're leaving you behind.
Listen,
it's almost been 2 years.
I don't think it's mean to say that if you are as big of a gamer, nerd, fan, whatever, as someone who is like chomping at the bit for Starfield or one of these next gen games, you will get one. You will find one. You would have found one by now.
Right. You're not trying hard enough if you have.
And I don't.
Not to be
I
harsh.
hate. And yeah, to put it bluntly, I think you're right. But also, if you can shell out $500 right now, and you have been able to, and you haven't been able to find one for a year, you just can't get one. You've been trying. You couldn't have saved up, and I know it sucks, and I don't want to do it either, but you couldn't have saved up an extra $250 to just buy one, because you can buy one off a scalper. And listen, I don't want to do it.
I wouldn't.
And that sucks,
I don't support that.
I don't support. But
don't buy off a scalper. Just get one.
But like, no. If you, I don't. If you are, I'm sorry. If you are really having that much of an issue, I'm sorry. You can buck up the $200. You can. I know you don't like to, and I'm sorry, but like, you can do that if you really want to. You can go buy a PS5 right now. But also,
don't buy one from a scalper, guys. I'll help you.
Buy one however you want. If you really,
I'll help you get it. All right?
But apparently, Gooch, people can't find it. That's what I'm saying. Like, even if you're with your
follow Warrior64 on Twitter, put your fucking notifications on, and deal with all the notifications you don't care about. When you get a PS5, when you see it, you'll thank.
Also, sign up to be offered one from PlayStation 2.
That's they were doing that.
Well, and they still do it. Like, you can still.
Yeah. Did you get one?
I had a request, but I just couldn't buy it. I wasn't able to.
Fucking weakling.
Have
you been playing anything else?
Yeah, man. I've been playing actually a good amount. So I bought Max Payne 3 because it was on sale, and we had a bunch of Rockstar talk and Max Payne talk with the remakes being made, and
right.
I was very curious. It was only $8. It's interesting to play a game like that right now in the way of
why
it's just completely linear, completely on the rails. It's very much an action movie you play. And it has a very interesting story. I think Max, at the beginning, he kind of annoyed me of the game, but by the end, he's kind of just this schmaltzy action hero who's just saying one-liners to himself every chance he gets, and he has this kind of interesting inner monologue that's very like, I'm out on the streets, and the streets are too tame, but I'm gonna fucking rank. Like, like that kind of like gritty cop inner monologue.
Rorschach's journal.
Yeah,
vibe.
very much.
The collective filth of the scum of this city.
Exactly.
Is boiling up.
And he just, all these one-liners, one after another. He's like, man, like you blow off a guy's head, and he's like, man, that guy shouldn't have lost his head. You know what I mean? Like,
he just goes wild.
Bullet time and
Max
stuff.
Payne is a series.
I never touched it.
I have no sort of.
I had never.
For.
I was like, it's $8. I love Rockstar. You can definitely tell that it was made on the exact same engine as GTA, which is 5.
Oh, 5.
Because I think it was released the same year as, or if not, the year after of 5. And it's hilarious because my roommate Ian walks in and he's like, what is this? Grand Theft Auto? And I'm like, that is funny. I'm like, it's the same engine. It's made on Rage and everything.
Rockstar,
So Rockstar made that themselves too. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they bought it from Remedy.
Yeah.
Yes, and they published it. So that was the deal, was they gave it back to Remedy to do.
Oh, really? So now they own the IP again?
I don't know if they own it.
They're just hiring them basically to make these. That makes sense.
Right.
But a lot of fun. I would highly recommend it if you want just an interesting Rockstar, well-written story. Pick up Max Payne 3. It's super cheap right now, too. I finished Control, which was great. I might have mentioned it last time.
Another Remedy game.
Yeah, and I finished the Alan Wake DLC.
Another Remedy game.
Yeah,
the Alan Wake DLC. For
I'm still working on the foundation. But Alan Wake stuff was interesting. I feel like it would have hit home a lot more if I had played Alan Wake.
I didn't play it either. I'm definitely going to play it before Alan Wake 2.
Same.
It's on my list.
And it seemed to have set up Alan Wake 2.
Oh, dude, I just want the Remedy verse, you know?
Absolutely.
I want to see, like... I hope in Alan Wake 2, Jesse Faden is in it.
No, I think she will.
I would love
and it was
to
so
see
funny
that.
because
it was so cool.
my roommate was telling me one of the games he loves is Alan Wake. He always tells me to play it. And I was asking what the story was and how he was talking about it. I'm like, oh, even just the basic story that he outlined, I'm like, this completely fits within the Control universe of how like these things work and all the paranormal stuff works. So very cool stuff. Can't recommend that game enough. Other than that, I've been hopping back into Vice City to finish that up.
Nah, you've been playing that for a while.
So I stopped for a while and I really kind of jumped back in now. It's been a lot of fun to re-explore Vice City. It's definitely tighter since that game released.
The remaster.
Yeah, absolutely. They tightened it up a lot, which I like. Also, Elden Ring, of course, which we spoke about. I'm getting close. It hooked me back in. I just had to beat that one boss that I was stuck on for a while.
The Fire Giant?
No, so it was actually just a side dungeon where it was a summoning snail. But you
were stuck on that fucking thing?
With the two Godskin apostles.
I haven't fought that one yet.
So no, this
Where's that?
Oops.
I haven't encountered that dude yet.
Where the fuck is that dungeon? I think it's in the Atlas Plateau. Altus Atlas. I think it's around there. But yeah, no, you have to fight a Godskin apostle, then a Godskin nobleman, and then
okay, I can.
Which they just were fucking me up so hardcore.
Those enemies are fucking hard.
They're bastards, but I finally beat them or not even finally. It was on the second try once I got back in, and then I just was off to the races.
Right.
And I'm finally finishing stuff up. Beat the Fire Giant finally. But other than that, I'm dipping my toes back into Watch Dogs. Actually,
I saw, and I like Watch Dogs 1. 2 is an interesting game because they found a different aesthetic and really dove into it and
much brighter. Yeah, right. Like in San Francisco, it's set, right?
Yeah, Watch Dogs 2's idea. I like it a lot more better. That Aiden Pierce is this, vigilante, and he's kind of just working on his own, and he's this hacker.
Yeah. Much.
Watch Dogs really lost its way. A lot of Ubisoft games lost their way. Let me just
absolutely
fact.
And it's funny because Watch Dogs, I just remember it was that game. It was delayed a bunch, right?
That trailer, that first trailer we got,
one of the coolest things ever.
Blew everyone's mind with the rain and how he was controlling the
street lights and
going into the club and killing the mouse guy or whatever he is.
And I do think it holds up pretty well so far. I think a lot of the open world stuff is bland and some of the side missions are very like, you got to chase a guy down and make him crash and then take the guy down. And that's kind of it. But the story's interesting. Aiden's a bit of a brick sometimes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's good.
He's not the most insane.
I like his look.
I think looking back, could have been Assassin's Creed, whatever. Watch Dogs. Genuinely, I think it, and it might as well
all
kind of might be.
Follow the same schema.
No, but not even like in the MO of like. I think that that's how you made an Assassin's Creed work in the 21st century, and they did it in Watch Dogs.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and even there's some parkour in it that I didn't realize. It's not like heavy, but it's pretty well done, and they created a whole new engine for that game. I didn't realize that. It plays very smoothly. Some of the physics in it are some of the best stuff I've seen in a game. There's some weird car collision stuff, but like when you hit a pedestrian, it's I know it sounds funny, but but it reacts like it's not like a canned animation. It reacts like GTA almost, and not many games can do that. So it's just been really kind of interesting to dip my toes back into that one. I think Chicago is a very well realized city going back. Actually, like it's really cool to kind of walk through. And I think there's a lot of stuff actually going on in the ambient world. But
San Francisco, I think, is a city that people like to do, but they instantly get very stereotypical with it.
yeah,
Because it's California.
Yeah.
And it has this vibe and this aesthetic and,
bright, sunny, poppy, yeah, I know what you mean.
I think like any city that isn't in California and maybe isn't Seattle, I think is interesting. Like Chicago, I think was an interesting location.
No, I feel like Chicago's something
But
we
like
never
I'm just
really
tired
see.
of like I don't want to do anything on the West Coast. Like pick any other fucking city.
Yeah,
Like,
and even like New
York.
York and stuff. Like New York, I think is a little bit less used now.
New
But
York
like
is
even
overplayed
still,
from just New York is overplayed.
and I
in
mean
everything,
GTA
right?
4 is New York. That is literally like an almost 1-to-1 map. Yeah, interesting stuff. But that's it. That's it. That's all I've been. Watch Tread on Netflix. Actually, it's a really insane documentary.
About what?
This guy, apparently back in 2004, it was a big news story. This guy souped up a gigantic bulldozer, like welded metal plates to it, and like basically made it into a tank, and like went on this insane like destruction spree and like destroyed this whole town back in like
Where?
2004. I can't remember where exactly
I think I
it
knew
was.
about this.
So it was apparently right the day after Reagan died, and like it completely like snuffed the story.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I actually remember. When
But
Reagan
I
died.
would say, right, it kind of shows you why this guy like kind of went down this path. Like, he was kind of a nutter dude, but then also how like he felt like he was being screwed over by the township where he was trying to set up a business, and he like recorded himself while throughout this whole process. So you hear him like talking about it. It's called Tread on Netflix. Totally recommend it. But Gooch, I got to get my booty shorts, but I am ready to talk about the Tomb Raider. I was almost about to
Why are
say
you waiting?
I had a brain fart. I was going to say the Terminator, and that's not correct. But
Tomb Raider. Yeah.
Tomb Raider. Yeah, you've seemed very impassioned about Tomb Raider recently.
I don't know why.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere.
I
I
don't
don't know.
really understand where it came from. I think it came from the fact that I was so disappointed with Crystal Dynamics' recent entries that I recognize that Tomb Raider can be a fucking great series. It is. Lara Croft is video games leading
People
lady.
know her.
She is like the first woman in games, like definitively.
And I think she's up there with like a Chief, where she's a recognizable character.
Right.
Truly.
Yeah.
Like,
People know Lara Croft and Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Like it is. It's synonymous.
Angelina
people know
Jolie.
her.
Hello.
Yeah, and I mean, Tomb Raider has a long running history of not only games but comics and movies, and obviously her over-sexualization is a big thing, which I'll talk about.
What happened to that, guys? Right? No.
I'll talk about that in a sec, because it's an interesting story about how that actually happened. I was kind of thinking like last year was Tomb Raider's 25th anniversary, and I was like, I like Tomb Raider, but I don't really have this like super broad history with the series. Like, there are a lot of games, not as many as you might think, but like I haven't played a ton of them. Like, my first one was The Last Revelation. That was from '99. I played that on PC with my dad very early on, and maybe Anniversary, which was from 2007, and like that's it. And like I think maybe the actual original first one. But I've always liked Tomb Raider. It's always been in my life since I was a kid. But I didn't really play, like, and I don't think a lot of people did play the 360 PS3 gen of them.
Yeah, not really. It definitely
Crystal
missed me.
Dynamics' first trilogy wasn't really that popular, and then Tomb Raider 2013 came around and really obviously revolutionized the character again.
Definitely put her back on the map.
For like a new generation.
Absolutely.
Like, Lara Croft is back, and for all
Better or for worse?
Yeah, for better or for worse.
Sure.
She's back, and I think she's here to stay, and I hope she's here to stay. I think Tomb Raider games are great, and just to go through sort of the history. So there are 3 Tomb Raider timelines, which is probably interesting to hear that there's timelines.
I mean, I'm so enthralled, as you can tell by my yawn. What do we say?
So we have the original timeline of Tomb Raider, all made by Core Design, the people who
Invented
created
her. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Tomb Raider 1, 96, 2 in 97, 3 in 98, Last Revelations in 99, Chronicles in 2000, and in 2003, The Angel of Darkness.
Ooh.
So the series, that's the original game, Core Design. I forget the guy who wrote it originally. But in Tomb Raider 2 is where essentially she starts getting over-sexualized. And it is not by the people making the game. it's by marketing.
Sure.
Marketing, like, there's a lot of, like, they put a lot of, like, risque, like, modeling pictures of her, like, in bikinis and stuff, like, for marketing.
Yeah.
And in Last Revelations, her butt and her boobs get bigger.
Nice.
Like and it's like very noticeable.
Sweet. No.
And but like it's interesting to say. It's like, yeah, they like the developer, like the guy originally made it. And I forget his name all the time.
Toby Gard.
Yes, yeah, he left Core because they did that.
Oh.
And he came back to Crystal Dynamics for their first.
He was like, I wanted a bigger boobs, and then no. I'm obviously not.
You made like 4 jokes. Like, we're good. And
I want bigger boobs, Gooch. Jeez.
Stop. So he left, and then he came back on the premise of like, all right, like we're gonna do Lara justice, and she's pretty still
With bigger
sexualized.
boobs?
She's still She's still sexualized, like a decent bit in that original Crystal Dynamics trilogy. Like she's got like there's one level where she goes to a party and like she's looking hot.
Wasn't there like a no shirt cheat or something? Wasn't that like a bit like wasn't that a big
there
thing?
Are skins of her like scantily clad in those.
Interesting.
But like they don't really do a good job. But in obviously in the Survivor timeline, which is Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, they take a much better approach with her. And honestly, like I'm totally fine with everything they do with Lara Croft herself. Sure. I think her look is great, and sort of like how her character evolves in those games is great. The story itself, though, I think there's an issue, and then my issues that I've talked about in the past, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, is sort of just the way those games played, and ultimately they were buggy and glitchy, and I had all sorts of issues with it, and kind of just clouded my whole perception of them. But
you had issues with achievements, right? Or glitching.
Yeah, and main side stories being blocked and stuff like that, and I just became so jaded
I remember.
by it because I had to play Rise and Shadow both 100% again because side missions bugged and I could not progress.
Yeah, that's not
and
good.
I waited like almost like 1.5 years for like the Rise to like just be patched. I'm like, they'll patch it.
Sure.
Never did. And I was like, really, Crystal Dynamics? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, seriously. Just to go back a little bit. So the Legend timeline. This is when Crystal Dynamics gets the IP.
Sure.
Square Enix now owns them.
Yep.
So it's Tomb Raider Legend Anniversary, which is a remaster of 1, like a full, not like just like we're porting it, we're fully remaking it, and then Underworld. So that is 6, 3, and 3. And now we're getting our 4th game in the Survivor timeline. Another one with Crystal Dynamics, which is what prompted this podcast. And I was like, I want to talk about Tomb Raider because I think Lara Croft is in a really interesting place. I think they can take a little bit of a leap from where they are now with her to kind of get her where I think she needs to be. Because I think, of course, in Tomb Raider 2013, she's a novice. She's like fresh out of her master's degree.
Well, it's Rise of the Tomb Raider, isn't it? Or is that... No, that's the second one.
The second one.
Why? That is a weird... What was the first one called? Just Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
Yeah, really? Oh,
How do you not know this? It's not that hard.
I mean, Gooch,
Tomb Raider 2013. Everyone calls it 2013.
I couldn't remember if that had like a subtitle.
And I'm talking to you about it right now. Pay attention, Drake.
I'm clarifying here, Gooch. Jesus Christ. So, Rise of the Tomb Raider is the first one.
No. You're
so easy, man.
You're fucking killing me.
Oh my God. Continue.
So yeah, Lara.
I won't ask any more questions.
Stop making jokes. They're not funny. I'm talking to you. Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, novice. So like, and the whole series she is. Rise, obviously, it's called fucking Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Lara Croft. That's the first one, yeah. Just continue, dude.
Yeah, that's the first one.
There you go.
And then Boom. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And I think they do a more interesting approach, and they kind of like. Did you play that one?
I played. No, I didn't.
And
just to show you that the fact that I'm not remembering which names they are does show you about a bit of how forgettable they are. That's what's confusing.
I would say that.
Like I didn't remember.
I think you're taking a broad. How
no, I just don't remember. I mean, just
that.
how forgettable the titles are in the way of like I would have guessed that.
You're stretching here, man.
I would have guessed that Rise of the Tomb Raider before we talked about this was the first game. I thought that was the first game. That's why I asked that question. I think I enjoyed the first one a lot. I played the first two, and I didn't play any of the
You
other ones.
played the first one. I don't even remember. It's just called Tomb Raider.
Because it was years ago. I don't know. Why is that so offensive? Dude,
Because I just don't find
How
it.
do you not know what
I
this
find
Tomb Raider is
I
called?
find it not difficult for these names.
Well, no, just because Rise of the Tomb Raider makes more sense as a first title rather than Tomb Raider being the first.
yeah, okay.
Anywho, those are my only two. And I thoroughly enjoyed the first one. I thought it was...
2013 and Rise.
Yeah, and I thought they did a very good job in making me care about that character that I didn't have really any type of touchstone with. And I don't know. I thought the gameplay was pretty cool, and I liked the stealth stuff, and I liked her with the bow and arrow and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed those a lot for sure.
Yeah, and you haven't played Shadow.
No.
Are you going to?
Maybe.
Or like for this new one, like are you gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll play Shadow?
I guess I'd have
and
to.
once I see it,
I was gonna say
Right.
I'd have to see maybe what this next one's gonna be, and I'd be like, oh, maybe that. I think the Mayan setting and all that was the most interesting seeming one to me, just based off of purely like what the story can bring in. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah. So Shadow of the Tomb Raider kind of delves into this. Lara Croft sort of like doing all this stuff is like kind of killing like getting a lot of people like killed.
Murdered, yeah.
not just the people she's killing,
Yeah.
but like I like in the first level, like you release like a natural disaster that like takes out like an entire
I definitely
not
play-
a native
I
village,
started-
but like an underdeveloped country.
I started that. I remember that scene for sure. And then she
Yeah.
was like sitting there like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Right. She's like, my actions led to this. Like,
Yeah.
I killed all these people. But also, something that Uncharted never really delves into, the fact that Lara Croft is a fucking murderer, and they really, like, delve into this. Like, there's a scene where she, like, comes out of the water and, like, totally black, like her shadow. And she, like, comes out of the water with a knife and fucking kills this guy. And, like, I'm like, yeah, like, Lara, like, it's just like Nathan Drake is, like, a fucking absolute murderer. He kills, like, so many people in that game. And they just kind of never talk about it. But in this, they kind of, like, approach that, like, Lara kills a lot of people.
Well, and I feel
there's
like
a lot of death in her wake.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like in the first game, I remember it being a big deal when she kills the first guy.
Yes.
And then
the first
then
kill,
it's
yeah.
kind of just like
Right.
stabby.
Just gonna
Yeah,
kill
yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so that's interesting to hear that they kind of
and
focused
it's a
in more
game.
about
It's
that.
kind of hard.
Of course, you
to-
have to. You
how
can't
many,
avoid
how many
that.
deaths until
I mean, the
killing
amount
people
of people
is
that
normal.
Nathan Drake has killed, you don't even want to know.
Right.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. I think that's an interesting kind of pinpoint to focus in on. And again, that setting, the whole Mayan area, that's very interesting to me. But
See, that's one big kind of quarrel I've had with the Survivor timeline. The settings never really spoke to me. Tomb Raider 2013 is Yamatai, which is like a Japanese island.
yeah, the second one didn't for me for sure. But
Rise
so, yeah.
is like Soviet. I think it's Siberia.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like
It's all
Soviet
snow.
area Siberia, and it's in the snow, and you're in the mountains. And then Shadow of the Tomb Raider is Cozumel in Mexico, and we go to like a Mayan civilization, which is kind of cool. You find this like hidden civilization that is still like primitive,
Interesting.
in like present day.
Yeah.
and it's but like the leader's kind of like no, it's very interesting. Story's a little confusing because you have this like dude who's like modern day, like be like the evil leader of like the evil like primitive people, and it's just like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, what's happening?
Yeah, it's like, does he know? Like,
Interesting.
yeah, so yeah, so that's kind of like one of the things with the next Tomb Raider. We're getting it from Crystal Dynamics again. Love it or hate it. They're back. The Avengers developers, the Tomb Raider developers.
Yeah.
They're hot off Avengers.
How do they do ratings wise for the Tomb Raider games?
Tomb Raider collectively, I think all three games have sold 88 million copies.
Gotcha. And
All
like,
three
and
games.
have they been like usually
I think
reviewed
yeah.
well?
I
That's
think
what I thought.
all of them
relatively speaking. Yeah.
reviewed really well, and I think Tomb Raider 2013 was the big one. I think a lot of people played that game. A lot of people liked that game.
Absolutely.
Rise and Shadow, less and less. Right?
No, for sure.
They came out, they reviewed well, but did not break the boundaries by any stretch of the imagination.
Not the way the first one did.
No,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and I think they, not that they like fell to the way. Well, yeah, they did. They fell to the wayside a little bit, and I feel like what's funny we're going to talk about is Square Enix selling their Western studios. Every studio that made a game that was Western from Square Enix did the same exact thing. Deus Ex, Thief. Avengers. All very reviewed okay games, but did not break this wall. You know, look at Deus Ex. I talk about it all the time. It's just a very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like mid-tier game that like is not like super well loved, but the people who love it.
Sure, it's cult classic ish. Like it has a big following.
I wouldn't
but
say
it
Tomb
didn't...
Raider is just because it's of the IP.
No, for sure.
But yeah, and it's weird to like, you know, Square Enix sold these studios off. So Crystal Dynamics no longer owned by Square, is now owned by the Embracer Group, and I'm like, okay, I think you are really yawning a lot.
I don't know. I told you it hit me for some reason.
You weren't yawning in Halo.
I don't know. I guess I'm so excited about fucking no. I sorry. Continue. I'm trying.
So it's like Crystal Dynamics. I've been very critical of. One with their Survivor, Tomb Raider games, and then obviously fucking Avengers.
Sure.
Avengers is like.
But
this big black stain on them.
And I feel bad because I don't necessarily think that's their fault. I feel like they were given a game that they should not have been given.
Square got that IP and said, "Here, make a game.
Make a game.
And
make this specific game.
Multiplayer. We want it to be games as a service." And they
I would love to see a single player focused Square Avengers game.
And they did. And look, because they did Guardians. When Square announced, it didn't do well, and we're like, what?
And guess what? It's because
Guardians was great.
And it's because of Avengers and stuff. It's because I think people were like, I don't know. I feel like I've been fooled here a few times. And that sucks because I think Guardians is a clear indicator of what they can do narratively when they're given that focus.
And even Guardians feels like Deus Ex, Thief, Tomb Raider. It's a mid-level game. It's AAA, but like it still feels like a AA game. Am I right?
I think it...
There's something about it.
It just plays so differently from the combat's so different from any other game that I played. Like I don't necessarily think that makes it double. I think it's a AAA game for sure.
Yeah, but like it's like lower AAA. You know?
I think it's higher than a lot of the games that I agree to disagree on that one. I think it's pretty high tier. I think it's very well made. I think it's a very well done game. Actually, probably one of the best games they've made since the first Tomb Raider. In my opinion.
Well, this is Adios Montreal.
Yeah. Well, I guess that has come out of that studio. How was that connected?
Squares.
Yeah,
Western.
Squares Umbrella.
Yeah.
Because
they all kind of feel the same for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
They all have this similar vibe, and
do you mean like kind of third person cinematic style?
No, I mean like.
Because I don't think.
I mean like high level, AA feel game. That is good, but again, never.
So what
never
do you think? Do you think Tomb Raider
sold well enough or reviewed well enough to be a game of the year or award-winning?
Sure,
game?
But does that make it a AAA game? Like I thought, what makes it more of a AAA game is, I guess, how much money goes into it and how what. Like I would.
I'm
definitely,
just trying to categorize it in a strange way, you know.
No, I know. I'm trying to put. I don't know. I think it is up there with those other games, especially Tomb Raider. I think it is a AAA. Especially that first one, AAA reviewed well game, and I think unfortunately the reason like an Avengers didn't, or I'm sorry, not an Avengers, a Guardians didn't do well commercially is because I think
not well enough for Square at least.
It's that, and I think that's just because people just don't want to be fooled and they see Square Dynamics, and I genuinely think that Avengers shot that thing right in the foot because they were like, I don't know, and that game did not show particularly well.
No.
It was like we said, and then we said that's on our review, which you can check out right now. It was a hard game to convey without you playing it. But once you play it, you're like, this is fucking awesome.
Well, then you got to the end of the game, and it's a game as a service.
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Guardians. My apologies.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. But no, you're right. And then with that, the thing that makes me so sad with Avengers is just that, and we've talked about this Penza with it. There's a good gameplay wise. There's a very good game in there.
Right.
They've made Iron Man play very well. I love playing as Thor. I love playing as the Hulk. They all feel different. There's definitely some things I would change, but for the most part, it's just the environments and what you're actually doing in the game that's just repetitive and boring, and that sucks.
And in a way, I saw that in looking back at Tomb Raider, and I'm like, I can see Crystal Dynamics, like
the first one. You mean
all of them? The
Gotcha.
feel of all of them. I can feel what I felt in Avengers in Tomb Raider. It's good, but there's something there that they're not quite getting right. I don't know if it's story. I don't know if it's settings. I don't know if it's gameplay. Mind you, they're on a proprietary engine called the Foundation engine. They're using their own engine. Maybe it has something to do with that. And I'm like, because I still can't quite put my finger on what about these new Tomb Raider games.
Are you saying how they play?
Like
you just don't like, as in they don't feel like they play like a AAA game, like as tight as one does?
Maybe.
Is that like?
I don't think Tomb Raider's gameplay is that tight. It's a third-person action game in the, not, I don't want to say in the best sense, but like in a sense that's like passable.
Yeah, I haven't played these in so long. I would really love to actually. I should have probably maybe popped in Tomb Raider.
That's all right.
2013, not Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, it's not that hard.
And just kind of maybe giving it a shot, because I remember thoroughly enjoying that first one. Genuinely, I remember thinking it was very well done and played well, and the story was interesting.
That game also had a tactile multiplayer, by the way. That we were in that era.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
tactile
so
multiplayer.
I don't know. I can't necessarily say that about the first one, based on my recollection. Mm-hmm. But I do see what you're saying. I do. I think that they are,
and it's. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I don't even know what you had to say.
It's not that I hate the Survivor games. It's not that. I had a bad experience in completing them, and that did kind of taint me a little bit. And I think if anything, my dislike and my disdain is more for Crystal Dynamics than it is for the games they make. It's this studio that, how are they getting away with all these bugs and these glitches, and how are they still happening? How from Rise did they not learn their engine a little bit better and make it so these bugs and glitches aren't happening in the sequel?
Was that a major issue for like reviewers when it came out?
See, no.
So that's what's confused. That's what's curious to me, because again, basing it off of the first game, I don't remember really running into any glitches or anything like.
No.
Nothing like a side quest bugging like that is not acceptable. That's not where and again, I guess neither should be an achievement being bugged. But to me, that's not something that I'm going to notice. You know what I mean?
And it's also, it just tangentially happens to be an achievement. It's also like, hey, our side quests are bugged. You can't finish
That's what I was just saying. The side quest being bugged, that's not.
And the collectibles,
acceptable.
You can't collect the last thing, so you have to replay the fucking game to get it again. It's like, what?
Yeah. No, that's...
What?
That's not good.
And even Tomb Raider's side content, I don't think was all that interesting.
I agree.
You know, they're like semi-linear open worlds, and I'm fine with that approach. Like Witcher 2 does that, and I think it does it really it does it really well.
Yep.
But ultimately, like, Tomb Raider needs something, and that's kind of like what are they gonna get it from?
I feel like they were really trying to get.
From?
I hear you. I do. I think what they were really trying to get away from with that reboot was those old connotations that we talked about of the sexualization,
and they totally did.
And I think they managed to do that, and I think they made her a really respected character in a lot of ways.
And I think she was before, even when she was sexualized.
And exactly. I mean that more exactly.
And,
I can put that totally.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's funny to look back at that stuff because I think it's somewhat overblown. I feel like
you also got to look at the crowd of the time. Like,
true, it's guys.
It's 99.9% men.
And you know what's funny? We got the Angelina Jolie movies. Love or hate them, I think they have some charm to them.
Absolutely.
Angelina Jolie,
sex icon.
a sex icon.
Absolutely.
At the time,
the
for
babe,
sure.
Genuinely, no,
right?
Genuinely,
Early 2000s.
I don't mean
Come on, Angelina Jolie.
No, she was.
And she goes,
just like Brad Pitt.
I want to make sure we don't over sexualize this. She said that.
That's cool.
I'm like, good for her, man. Yeah. But guess what? She's pretty hot in that movie.
No, but that's
there's a shower scene in that
now
movie.
Imagine what it would have been like if she didn't say that. Like,
who knows?
No, and I think that's very much a product of the time that it was created in, and I think they did a great job of getting away from that. I think they can, though, with this next trilogy, if that's what they're trying to do, lean back into some of those things of her character that are a bit more campy in a way, and kind of just settle with them.
The story of the first one, Lara is like really cocky. Like she's good and she knows it, and she's a bit of a bitch. Like she has a very like different vibe going for her. Like in the first game, like she's an accomplished or not accomplished.
Accomplished.
Yeah. Not accomplished.
Close. They're very close.
She's an accomplished archaeologist and Tomb Raider, and like she knows it, and yeah, and like she's in the top of her field. People know who she is, and she's and like the way her dialogue's written in those games, like the way she acts and the way she looks, I feel like all kind of plays into it.
She does look very unassuming.
In the games.
Well, especially in the newer ones, she's very much more. I wouldn't like. I do like that growth of her into this more serious, or someone to be more taken seriously, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to put it into words.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
I think they do a good job. Camilla Luddington.
I was about to say that I
look,
think she's fantastic.
She's great.
I love her.
I don't think the portrayal of Lara Croft or her acting or her writing is the issue at all.
No.
Actually, it's probably like the farthest thing from it.
Does she mocap for that too, or does she just voice?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think if you look up Camilla Luddington, she doesn't. I don't think she look. I'm pretty sure Lara Croft is. They probably have a model, but it's not her.
I would assume they probably mocapped someone. I feel like they always mocap someone for faces now. For
Right.
the most
Yes.
part. Yeah.
They get.
So
a
they
model.
probably have a model. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. They get.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by the
Well,
model.
yeah,
Like, they get
that makes
somebody
sense.
who.
What was the
fits
name
bill.
again?
Camilla Luddington. Yeah, and like, I think it's funny to look back at the over sexualization of Lara Croft.
I don't know, man.
Does she? Let me see.
No, maybe not. I don't know, actually.
No, not at all. No. Close.
I think she looks like an older version of her almost. But no, yes. Sorry, you're saying.
Yeah, and I think it's weird to kind of look back, and it's like, yeah, the fans did for sure, and the marketing did for sure, and you can look back and there's proof that they did do that. But I don't think the games was necessarily all about sexualization. Obviously, she's a female character, and she's she's a badass, and they were kind of going for that. But I'm like, you talk to fans of Tomb Raider and Lara Croft, they don't really see it that way, especially now.
Yeah.
I feel like the stereotypical dude who like is buying this game and like the marketing is for that, sure, but like there's also fans who've been with the series for a long time who like.
No, I think she's taken for much more seriously than just her looks.
Yeah, and
no.
I feel like we kind of lose sight of that a little bit.
I agree, but I do think
it.
that is the doing of 2013's Tomb Raider for sure.
Yeah,
I really think that to just speak to it again, they brought her into the serious world.
Right. They get her out of the
as a
booty
Nathan
shorts
Drake. Yeah.
and the tank top, and I mean she's in a tank top and
no, for sure. Don't get me
2013.
wrong.
But
yeah, there's definitely still some stuff
like,
there.
oh, like check out her boobs and her ass. And like she's attractive, of course, but like, it's less about that. What's
absolutely. So Camilla Luddington did mocap her.
She
mocapped her,
not her
so
model.
Interesting.
There's a difference.
But like I thought that's what they do. Their motion capture.
Mocap
but
is
they
her
put
acting.
the model over her face.
Right.
Okay.
So like, for example,
so they
Guillermo del
mocapped her
Toro in
onto-
Death Stranding is not mocapped by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah,
it's just like
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a model for the character, and then the motion capture and the acting was done by Camilla Luddington.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So the next Tomb Raider, we talked a lot about this. Crystal Dynamics coming back under Embracer Group, free from the constraints of their Japanese overlord, Square Enix. Thank God, because I think this just frees them to do more with Tomb Raider and be better with it. Made in Unreal 5. That's how we found out about this. Unreal 5 sort of unveiled, and Crystal Dynamics immediately.
Even that debut thing for I feel like Unreal 5, like where they kind of showed the video that was just it almost looked a little Tomb Raidery. I know it wasn't.
So
but
now
like,
we're getting out of their proprietary Foundation engine, or well, yeah, it's Crystal Dynamics. It's still theirs. They're getting out of the engine and they're getting into Unreal 5. This can only mean good things.
No, I agree.
Were you about to say something?
I'm just making sure I'm reading. As far as her wiki says, I do think she's the face as well.
Really?
Yeah. She says she provides the voice, facial, and motion capture. Facial capture.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, she does. I think right there, she does look a little bit more.
She doesn't look like Lara Croft in that.
I don't know.
I've stared at it enough.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
It says face, so I'm curious if that's what that means.
Does facial mean just the?
So like, I'd be curious why they would separate motion capture and facial capture.
There's definitely I think a difference. Because don't they usually go in like
and do the thing? Yeah, they do.
When they're just sitting there and the rig's on their head and they're like.
Any motion capture experts out there, right in. Thanks.
So Unreal Engine 5. I'm excited. Honestly, Unreal Engine looks great. We know Kingdom Hearts 4 is in that engine. I think I'm just excited to see.
I think a majority of like next gen games that we're getting are basically in.
It seems like the industry is making a shift towards not using proprietary engines and using public engines.
Well, I think we kind of talked about this. I think on the Rockstar podcast, but I mean, having your own engine, that's a lot of work. You have
and
to
it
have
doesn't
a whole,
pay off. Cyberpunk
sometimes and I mean you have to have your whole own in-house like problem solvers and things like that. With Unreal Engine 5, you can call support line or whatever and have someone help you out, and there's forums and all that.
Right.
So yeah, no, it's interesting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Jeff Ross of Days Gone fame is joining Crystal Dynamics as the design director. I don't know if you ever played Days Gone. That's a very divisive game. A lot of people love it. A lot of people don't like it.
Days Gone.
Sam Witwer.
That's
Zombies,
not the one.
motorcycle.
Duh. Why am I? Yeah. No, I've never. That's probably one I will pick up when I get a PS5. I think. Days Gone for sure, but
yeah. So I forget what he was at Days Gone, but I think he was the head writer, lead director.
And then
like
what
that.
Is he at this new place? Or at the
he
new
is the design director.
Interesting.
So that's cool. A big talent is now shifted over. Like there's a lot of hubbub with Days Gone too.
Sure.
I don't know if you remember, he made like some comments, and like Colin Moriarty interviewed him because Ghost of Tsushima was getting a lot of praise, and apparently Days Gone.
I did watch that interview.
Had similar sales, but did not get the praise.
Yeah.
And I mean, Days Gone has been divisive since it's come out.
Absolutely.
In the critical eye, and I think just in general, like
for sure,
it's just he seems to be a very divisive game.
No, it's sad that I didn't remember.
Kind of got killed by Sony.
Yeah,
like Sony Ben didn't perform well, didn't review well, and didn't sell well, and
they just kind of left it out
for it. There was a planned sequel, not happening anymore.
Yeah.
And then I have mentioned in here that Square Enix sells their Western Division games to Embracer, to embrace the blockchain.
To embrace her. Gotcha. I know you love my jokes.
Blockchain. NFTs, and they like fucking fell the next day after that.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man!
What a world we live in.
It's fun. I mean, the NFT thing has literally completely shit the bed, which is, I'm sorry, sort of, to people who bought NFTs, but it's nice.
Isn't it wild that they sold 300 million? All of them.
Yeah,
300. That's not a lot.
No, it's not
for all those studios.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Much, for as much not shit, but as much dirt as I throw in the fact that they make these AAA games that I besides Thief, which you have. How did you not?
I was
gonna
mention something, but I was like, he already knows it's the game of the decade. I don't need to bring this up.
Yeah, I hate fucking Thief.
No, but
Thief
again, that is literally.
I love Ideas Montreal. I love Deus Ex.
That is the epitome of a. This is whatever. It's not like I know we joke around about it. I know you really don't like it, but that is the epitome of a fine game to me, in the way of it does nothing new.
And that's what I'm saying. All of these games are epitome of just fine. You know,
I don't think the first Tomb Raider is, but just because I do think just the sheer fact that it brought it back into the zeitgeist in such force at least at that time, I think tells me that it wasn't just an okay game. But I hear what you're saying, and it is this weird kind of middle ground. I don't really know.
Yeah, right. It's strange.
I do think
it's hard to put into words.
I do think they're AAA games, though. Especially, I can only speak to the first one really that well. I keep saying it. I played the second one, barely remember it. Genuinely, I know there was a bunch of snow. That was what I remember the most about.
Wait, from what?
From the second Tomb Raider.
Yes,
because that's when they're on the mountain.
And I'm gonna jump to something in a little bit, but the story has also never been the greatest.
Sure,
I've never been I like Lara as a character. I like her background. I like her.
Yeah,
but the story around her, never really interested in the
Gooch, this is making me want to play the first Tomb Raider again. Really, I think I'm gonna do that. I might. It was on sale too the other week.
I definitely want to play the what trilogy was it? Or their timeline, the Legend timeline, which is Legend, Anniversary, and Underworld, that are backwards compatible on Xbox 360, so I can play all those on console. Get all those achievements.
Love it.
I think I want to play those before the new Tomb Raider comes out, and I would be interested to play the definitive edition that's that got remastered for the Xbox One gen, because that was a 360 game, if you remember, end of the generation for there. I'm I'd replay that.
That was a 360 game.
Yeah. End of the generation, probably like 2011 or 13.
That's nuts, man.
Duh.
Yeah, that's or 12 or was it 13?
20. It's Tomb Raider 2013. That's what everyone calls it. It's like one of the. It's like Spider-Man 2016. Everyone like they tag the year on it
Absolutely.
for some reason.
Or it's just, but yeah, exactly. That's so funny. Interesting. I had a point and I lost it. Continue. Were we going somewhere else?
So I wanted to ask. I think this is like the big question of this podcast. We're talking about the future of Tomb Raider here. What do you want to see from this new game, if anything?
I'm trying to think of a civilization that I would like to see.
Setting,
a setting, and like
a good starting point.
I mean, I'm never gonna scoff at an Egyptian. Like
we got an Egyptian a lot in the original trilogy. The last Revelation is all in Egypt.
Yeah.
And do you know they kill Lara Croft at the end of that game?
Oh no, I didn't.
So they kill her off. The next game, Chronicles, is her butler and 2 other people recounting stories that she's had. So she's dead.
Yeah.
And then the Angel of Darkness, she comes back.
Okay.
She's not dead. They unkill her. Because they literally killed her off. And that was the point. They wanted to stop. Core wanted to stop making Tomb Raider games. They killed her.
Yeah, just to make so that they
stop.
couldn't. Yeah.
So they ultimately
sold.
Going back to it, and then they sold. I'm not really sure what happened to Core Design. They're not a thing anymore. But I think they just sold the IP.
Interesting. Was that
Crystal
like their
Dynamics?
only major design?
I don't know
production?
what other games they've made. They had to have made something before Tomb Raider, but it's definitely not anything notable, probably.
Wow, that's so funny.
But yes,
their old website's still up. It's like the old.
Oh my god, that's hilarious! It looks so early as.
That's interesting that they kept it up.
Yeah,
and then they have the Embracer thing on. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, so setting, I think, is a big thing in Tomb Raider. I want to go to ancient Egypt again.
I think Egypt, I think that's just the way to go. I'm trying to think of other, civilizations that I would even kind of care about.
And I think
you can't do pirates because that's kind of the drain.
Uncharted's
already done it.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing I think with a Tomb Raider game. I think the setting is a big
I did like the first one in the
an appetite wetter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's you see what it's here. Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Before you even know anything about the game. So, and I think you're right. Tomb Raider's already been to Egypt, and I feel like Egypt is very untapped.
Yeah, last big Egyptian thing we got was Origins. Yeah, really. That was basically
that still didn't sate my appetite for the Egyptian.
That definitely wetted mine a bunch. I appreciated it, but no, I think Egypt. That's correct. Egypt is the way to say it, and that's where we should go next.
Yeah, and it's funny. I can't really settings are always tough. I can't really think of what else.
I appreciate that they stuck to the mystical stuff. I do like that type of element in these games for sure. Yeah. Does that exist in Uncharted?
Yeah,
there are magical elements. Yeah,
lesser so.
It's more just treasure.
Really lays it on.
Yeah,
and I think with the Survivor timeline games, they go the approach of what Uncharted did, and they do it lesser.
Sure,
and towards the end of the game. But in other games, it's there from the beginning. The supernatural element.
Well, I felt especially in that first game, I remember it being kind of. Is it or isn't it? And then by the end, it is. Yeah, it absolutely is. So that's interesting. And then in the movie, they went the opposite way, which was funny.
And that's also something we didn't talk about. We're getting a Tomb Raider anime with Haley Atwell in it, and I think
that is funny.
I think it is. I don't know if it's based off of the new ones. I don't know what it is. But then we have with the new Tomb Raider movies with Alicia Vikander, which
apparently we are getting another one of. Yeah. I hope it's not just the second or third game. Just
another okay video game adaptation.
Actually, I think a really good one if you've never played the game because you just know the entire story. But
from 2013.
Yeah.
Anything else stick out to you? What do you want to see from this next Tomb Raider?
I want to see her pistols back. I think they can bring those back.
Thank you.
I'm fine with.
Trio.
I still do like the bow and arrow though. I don't think they need to get rid of that.
I think they do. It's time to move away.
Overall, I just want the exploration to be done very well, I think.
The tomb raiding.
The tomb raiding
was not a thing in
There was
2013.
very small raids going on.
Not a lot.
But not much.
Right.
I did remember enjoying those puzzles in that game, though, for how much I usually don't like puzzles. the environmental puzzles in those were pretty interesting and unique. Reminded me very much of the old style like Assassin's Creed ones we used to get, and with the tombs and stuff like that. But yeah, Gooch, I don't know, man. This was an interesting one because I don't really think about Tomb Raider much. I don't really have a strong opinion.
I want to jump off your weapons thing because that's something I'm like. I want to, and I mentioned it earlier. I want to see Lara return to form a little bit, and I think the bow, female protagonist with a bow, very Katniss Everdeen. We got it with Horizon. It's like it's so overplayed. You know, and I think what they do with Crystal Dynamics, what they do with these Survivor games, they don't really stick to her classics at all. You know, we have the bow, the ice picks, and those are the two sort of iconic things. And I'm like, I think now we've hit a point where Lara Croft of this timeline and this series is hardened enough that she's going to move away from the bow. She's going to move away from the you know, I wouldn't hate if the ice picks returned, but I think the dual pistols need to be there. I think that is a Lara Croft staple. I feel like they have to return.
I think they've earned the right to return to that too at this point. I think the first...
I want to see her on the cover with those in her hands.
Absolutely. And I think doing it the way they did, at least at the beginning, setting it up with that kind of very different tone without her having those was fine and worked for me. But like I said, they've earned it at this point. They can put those in, and I feel like
she's hardened. She's more knowledgeable than she was at the beginning. She knows what she's doing. She's killed a lot of people. I feel like that has to mean something. So that means
that was the other thing about this trilogy. She seemed to be constantly rising. You know what I mean? She seemed to be constantly
yeah. And I'm
becoming
fine with that,
no, but I mean she's like constantly
getting
to like be. Like, I feel like by the end of each game, she's like, now I'm the Tomb Raider. But then by the next game, she's like, well, I'm not. I'm still figuring out how to be the Tomb Raider. It's like, no, just you're the Tomb Raider. You're fine.
Well, now she definitely is.
And now she, exactly.
I
now,
hope she is.
Exactly.
I want them to act like she is.
And I couldn't have said it better myself. I agree. I hope so, too.
And that's kind of like why I want, you know, the old Regalia to come back. And she doesn't need to wear the booty shorts and the tank top. In Shadow, they do her classic, like, aqua top really well. They adapt that idea, and I think her outfits have been pretty cool. And in the games, you know, in the first one, it's like our cargo shorts, boots, and the gray tank top.
Yeah.
Second game, she's wearing a jacket a lot because she's in.
Does she
Siberia.
Does she have horrific deaths in the second and third one too?
Yes. Remember that was a thing.
Yeah,
that was in the headlines a lot. That people thought that they were doing gruesome deaths were like not sexual, but
because
like,
she was like it's like because guys like it was something about like people wanting to see women like get hurt very bad. I know what you're talking about.
She has some gruesome fucking deaths.
Which she does.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's some fucked up ones.
Yeah,
but
all of them. Like she like her like crashing against rocks and shit and getting.
How does Drake? Yeah, Drake doesn't really die in gruesome ways, does he?
No, I don't think so.
Just gets shot.
And I'm like, it's such a weird thing to bring up. So
it's something people are just looking to kind of complain about. I don't know. I don't want to prejudge and all that, but it's just a weird thing. I don't understand. Was there?
Yeah, and then in Shadow, she's like in cargo shorts again, but she has this like it's like an active clothing wear, and it's that classic teal color.
Maybe I'll actually just play Shadow. Yeah.
Maybe you should.
It's
on Game Pass? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I'll see how much it is. If it's like $10, honestly, I'll probably pick it up. There was a big sale going on Xbox. It was some type of forward compatibility sale it was ones that were all running at 60 frames per second, and that's how I got Watch Dogs. But continue, Gooch.
And I did want to bring in a viewer comment. Jess Yarnagle, friend of the show. I like to call it, since Jess is our like Discord journalist.
We should shout her out, her thing that she put in the Discord too.
I forget if Jess wants to be. If you go to General Gaming, I tagged everyone.
Yeah,
let me read it from her because I don't want to like butcher what it is. So there's an esports award thing, so you can nominate people, and if you go to General Gaming, you can nominate Jess for. Hold on, she has it. Esports Journalist of the Year.
Absolutely.
So if you could go do that for Jess,
that would be great.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Back to our thing.
Yes.
So she wrote in, and it's always great to get obviously the female perspective on a female character. One thing we don't have.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do not
I was going to make another joke, but yeah, absolutely. No, we do need that.
Don't. And she says this. So it's sort of playing into what I've been saying about the weapons and stuff. I don't want to see them skip over a transition story like Anthony does. I want them to pick up where it left off and go from there. I can agree with... Well, actually, no. I want to see a time skip. So I don't necessarily agree. I agree and I disagree. I feel no need to rush through the story just to get to her badass part. Coming from a woman's perspective, this story is important for me. It's important to know where she came from, and it is just as badass as she is with her signature two guns look. I want a better progression system. I still don't think they've gotten it right yet. Sort of going off of what I was saying of the game, there's something just not right. And I think she's right. The leveling system for the games that aren't RPGs that try to be RPGs are always very strange.
Everything's almost RPG like these days, I feel. And
and Tomb
you
Raiders
can either do it well or terribly.
Right.
And actually, it surprisingly did it well. Watch Dogs, I'm playing right now. I'm like, oh wow. But continue. Sorry.
And that goes along with her story progression. She can easily go from her pick and her bows to her guns through that progression system. They can change it up every game, and I think they've had it best. I think they've had in the best way during the first game. So the first game, she thinks it's the progression system with her weapons is the best. I think I would agree.
I think that's a good way to do that,
because I remember
too.
there is a very she has the picks. Now she has the bow. Now she has.
Now
a gun.
you're upgrading your picks
Now
and
she
your
has a
bow,
rifle.
and
Right.
and now you have the compound bow, and instead,
Right. I want a better story. Again, they're regressing with the storylines. It got harder and harder to keep me interested, and I could not have agreed more. And clearly, I think Trio's lack of interest or showing an interest in the story is probably a reason why Tomb Raider is this mid-tier game that I'm trying to hit home.
Yeah.
It's not good. Like the story.
I will say, I remember the first one very well. I do. But besides that, it's gone. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, and I think that just kind of feeds into everything with Tomb Raider with this next game needs to be better. No matter what they do, they really need to make this one stand
They need to make
out.
another leap like they did with the first one. They need to... I agree 100% with what Jess said, by the way. I think that's where they will definitely go, first off. I think a time jump would be a little odd, at least too far. I think you can do a time jump, but I don't think you want to do one that then just implies that she's grown in it. I think you need to
show it.
I
can agree with that. And I think I mean when I say a time jump, I don't want them to not show her progression. I think she has progressed. I just want the time jump to show that what has happened in the past 3 games has she's been in it now for a little bit.
And I feel like they could almost do it real time. In the way, when did the last game come out?
2018.
And I'm assuming this
Actually,
next one probably won't be out till 2025.
Yeah, so Tomb Raider 2013, Rise of the Tomb Raider 2015, Shadow of the Tomb Raider 2018.
So I would assume 2023 at the earliest. I think more. No, not even. I think 2024 at the earliest.
Yeah.
More likely 2025. I think you could do just a canonical jump in that, like where it was 28, because those are set contemporarily, right?
That's what I was. I don't know what the time skips are, if there are any. Or,
I just assumed that they were set in the year that they came out. But
that
would be my guess.
Not a horrible thing to assume at all, but I'm actually not sure.
So I don't know. I think in this next game you can show her and her confidence of being the Tomb Raider, because I don't know where Shadow leaves her, and I'm curious.
I'm trying to remember. It doesn't leave it doesn't really do anything for her.
It's just more because she is just the Tomb Raider by that game, right?
She beats the bad guy, and you know who is in Shadow of the Tomb Raider?
Who?
Anoxa the Moon.
Really?
Actor plays the main leader of the tribal civilization that you find. She's the voice actor.
That's so funny.
Isn't that funny?
That is really funny. I would not have. That's she's done what else is she in? Like anything else?
I don't know.
That's so funny.
Her name I can see it, but I don't remember it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and and again, this podcast kind of came from a kick of I watched like 10 hours of Tomb Raider video essays on all the games I didn't play. So now I have a general idea of these games that I never experienced, and I would like to play someday. And I'm kind of Tomb Raider's been all over the place, and I almost didn't realize it. It's been to so many different places, and there's a lot of Lara Croft doing some like Splinter Cell Hitman kind of thing. Like she's in like a museum or she's in like a corporate building and she's like going through trying to find stuff.
Yeah.
And like the early games, not even just the Legend timeline. So the 2006, 7, and 8 games. Like in like the first one, she goes to like I think it's Natla Industries, I think is the place, but like she goes like, you know, she's not just in a tomb raiding or some like, you know, far off country.
She doesn't only raid tombs, she raids museums as well.
I think like Angel of Darkness dipped into that probably a little too much.
Gotcha.
But
into the non-tomb raiding?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I think and Chronicles also did as well, but I think
maybe even more globe-trotting like adventure for her. Like not necessarily
and that's what all the games do. They are globetrotting. It's like in the first one you're in Peru and then you're in Egypt and then you're somewhere else and you're in Atlantis in the last level, and it's just like crazy depiction of Atlantis. Actually, I would Google that. Dude, Google like Tomb Raider 1 Atlantis and it looks
Nuts.
like a horror fucking show. It's crazy.
That's funny.
It's all like muscly and stuff. It's really interesting. But yeah, I think that would be a good thing to see.
Too.
Maybe they're gonna do multiple settings.
No, I think that would be cool. I think that's the way to go. I do. That or Egypt. Give me Egypt. I'll be fine. I'll take it. What else you got for me, Gooch?
I think that's it. There's not really much I'm looking for. It's really those key things that I want them to get back to a little bit, but not totally forget what we've done with the Survivor timeline.
And listen, you know, Tomb Raider deserves it. It's a series that deserves to be around.
Right. Again, we have movies, 2 movie series. We have comics.
Earliest video game movies. Some of the earliest, anyways. Which is so funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta rewatch those.
Maybe a rewind review. Who knows?
That was always something I'm like, well, we got to do both.
Yeah.
Because it's Cradle of Life. It's Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider, I think is what the movie's called. And then the second one is the Cradle of Life. Daniel Craig's in that.
I know. I remember seeing. It's funny. I was on TV like a month ago and I saw that like he showed up. I was like, is that fucking Daniel Craig? Holy shit. Hilarious.
And also, her mansion is really an iconic location in the games. We see it in the DLC for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but we don't actually see it in the main game. I would like to see the mansion, the Croft.
That would be nice. Yeah. I agree.
It's an iconic part. Actually, no, you do go to in the main games, but
I was gonna say, isn't it like as one as a child, right?
As a child. Yeah. She's not actually there. Yeah. And like, you know, the games always revolve around her father and her mother. Maybe, you know, I have a feeling that storyline will carry over because I do think they leave on a cliffhanger about that in Rise and in Shadow of her dad being mixed up in Trinity.
That's right. I do remember that.
Yeah, the villains are Trinity in both games.
Trinity.
Not in the original. No, in the original. I think it's Trinity.
In the like 2013. Okay.
2013. Sorry.
Gotcha. No.
Yeah, there's too many games though.
There's 3 trilogies, right?
I think it's all Trinity. Yeah. So I guess they would probably return.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're using the same thing. Interesting, Gooch.
Yeah, but that's really
stuff.
it. I'm excited to see where Tomb Raider goes. I hope Crystal Dynamics just polishes up their team. And
so they're owned by
games.
Embracer now, right? You said?
Yes.
So interesting. Yeah.
So Embracer, if you forgot, is like the THQ Nordic.
Oh, okay.
They renamed themselves, but they are like those games.
Gotcha.
They have a lot of games.
No, I know. Yeah, that's like Darksiders and all like that shit, right?
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Gooch, love the Tomb Raider talk, guys. Thank you so much for watching with us. If you've been with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Network, we very much appreciate you. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts can be found. Just search Delco Network. We're on all your favorite podcast services. Social media services as well at Delco Nerds on basically everything. We have a Facebook page. We have a Discord channel where we discuss fun things like Tomb Raider. All this information can be found on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. You can email us at delconerds@gmail.com with all your comments, questions, or concerns. We'd be happy to respond to you. For Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.